Welcome to another edition of Bucher and Friends, a subsidiary of the United WeCast Network. It's a Wednesday, which means that you get me, along with a special guest. And today's special guest is Memphis Grizzlies guard MarShon Brooks. We're going to catch up with him and find out how it is that he made it back to the league after a 4-year absence playing overseas. Does not normally happen. But before I get to that, there are two subjects that I need to address. One is the dust-up from the other day between Rajon, Rondo, and Chris Paul. And the other is the pending dust-up between Rondo and LeBron James. Yes, you heard me right. First things first. Consider the discovery that Chris Paul is not the good guy in the insurance commercials as a market correction. I know guys going back to Chris Paul's days in New Orleans who said he was a pain in the ass as a teammate. Now, I also know the image that he had, and he cultivated, and he was very careful about cultivating it. He was that doe-eyed kid out of Wake Forest, the undersized point guard, the stocky guy who was the ultimate floor leader and soft-spoken. He was always great with the media, but I knew from talking to people that he played with that there was a flip side to him, just as there is with any number of guys. PJ Carlesimo is the first coach that comes to mind as gregarious, personable, great guy to hang out with. But as a coach, if you played for him, let's just say there's a reason that Latrell Sprewell went for his neck, and it wasn't all on Spree. So guys do have two sides, a lot of them actually in the NBA. Well, a lot. Certainly a healthy number of guys are not always as they appear to the public. Chris Paul is one of those guys. Now, there are plenty of teammates and been plenty of guys in the league that could be labeled as pain-in-the-ass teammates, guys that were difficult, challenging. The difference is the Kobes and the Michael Jordans and the Gary Paytons, they got you somewhere. If you're going to be a demanding teammate who gets you deep into the playoffs, that's one thing. If they make you a championship contender, other players will put up with a lot with that. If those are the guys that are coming down and making the plays at the end of games that move you on to the next series, then demand all you want because it's working and you're living up to everything that you're asking us to do. You're asking us to do certain things and you're going to finish it off for us. Okay, we're on board. The problem is, and this is the problem that Chris Paul has faced, is when you don't get out of the second round and when you do dominate the ball and when, from a public standpoint, everybody's constantly blaming your supporting cast for the reason that you're not going further. When everybody on the team knows, hey, that guy wasn't able to deliver when it meant the most. So that is why Chris Paul is, there's truth to what Rajon Rondo has said, and there's been truth to it, but I'd say Chris's entire career, to be honest. It just hasn't been fully discovered. Now, is he a horrible teammate? I don't know if I'd go quite that far. Is he the worst guy? No. He's a demanding teammate. And for my money, I've always appreciated CP3 and the way he plays. He is a tough competitor. Again, didn't always see that, but he would talk ish as much as any player. He was physically tough. I mean, he had a lot of John Stockton in him. John Stockton, same thing. Quiet, but there are guys in the league who played with him would say John Stockton was a dirty player. Guys in the league now will say Chris Paul does some dirty things. All about trying to get over, trying to win. Will do anything he can, ultimately, to win. And it's also true that the issues between Rondo and Chris Paul go back. This has been reported by some other people. They go back to 2008, the Olympic team, the Redeem team. Rondo and Chris Paul were both competing to be on that team, and Chris Paul beat out Rondo. And this was right after Rondo had won a championship with Boston. And Rondo was salty about it. He was salty about it. He missed out on the world championship team in 2010. Saw him going out to the King of the Rock basketball tournament on Alcatraz. It was a Red Bull sponsored event. And I saw Rondo right after that. And He was up against Russ Westbrook and Derrick Rose. I mean, he's lost out when it comes to national team recognition to some really good players. Nonetheless, he missed out on his spot on the Redeem team, and Chris Paul was the one who took it. And I have not talked to Rondo directly about that team and that situation, but I guarantee you the fact that LeBron James and Carmelo Anthony, there was a whole crew on that team that were closer to Chris than they were to Rondo. It's probably part of him that suspects, you know what, I wasn't invited to the cool kids table at lunch. And that's what that was all about. That's why CP3 was on that team and I wasn't. The real problem is that they are so alike. Again, Rondo, the ultimate competitor. Chris Paul, the ultimate competitor. Cerebrally, believe that they're the smartest guy on the floor and want to have everybody in their place. They want to orchestrate what's going on. I think because of that, that's the biggest rub between them, is simply because they are so alike. Now, you know who else was on that 2008 team with CP3? I might have mentioned them already. The two of the other banana boat crew, Carmelo Anthony and LeBron James, both of whom came to Paul's defense after the skirmish the other night. Here's the problem. Only one of them, Carmelo Anthony, is actually on Chris Paul's team. LeBron James is a teammate of Rajon Rondo on the Los Angeles Lakers. And if you don't think that Rajon isn't well aware of how LeBron put an arm around CP3 and when all that was going down, then you don't know Rajon Rondo. He's hyper aware of everything going on around him. And I'm sure he's already seen the photo that's out there from the back that shows LeBron with his arm around CP3's shoulders while the fight is going on or whatever. The remnants of the dust up are in front of them on the court. That's going to present a problem moving forward for the Lakers. Don't think it's not. I mean, this is already a team of factions. If you have ever looked at their team during a timeout, a huddle on the bench, it is a team of factions. And this isn't really a news flash. We expected this coming in. Pretty much everybody looked at this roster and said, this is a mixed bag. This is not a team built for LeBron James. It's a team built to preserve their cap space for next year and to take a long look at some young players and see who's going to be good enough going forward. And then LeBron James in the middle of it all. But it's not built for LeBron in the traditional way that teams have been built for him to play his game. So the factions are, you got Rajon, you got the young guns, that whole group of Josh Hart and Kyle Kuzma and Lonzo Ball. And then you got Lance Stevenson and Michael Beasley and JaVale McGee, sort of the goofy trio of veterans on one-year deals. And then you have LeBron. There's no bonding there. And again, just next time you're watching a Lakers game, watch one of their timeouts. Watch for the unity or lack thereof or the interaction. There isn't any. Now, the dynamic that I can't see working the entire season is Rajon telling LeBron what to do. And after a week or so, we've already seen plenty of that. And again, another thing that we knew was coming. Rajon is going to, he doesn't care who you are. If you're not doing the right thing, he's going to let you know. If you miss a defensive rotation, he's not going to look at you as LeBron and say, well, you know, you're doing a lot on offense. He's going to say, dude, you were supposed to be there. LeBron's not going to like that. He was able to deal with Dwayne Wade being a co-leader and really sort of the director. But Dwayne Wade, first of all, they were friends, longtime friends. And Dwayne Wade knew how to do it in a way that wasn't going to offend LeBron. LeBron's not going to confront Rajon directly on this, but rest assured, he will work some passive-aggressive angles to back Rajon up. It's how LeBron operates, which is only going to remind Rajon where LeBron's allegiance was in the dust-up the other night. This is why I've never believed that LeBron is all in on this season. If he was, he'd be approaching this an entirely different way. If he was, he wouldn't have gone to get Chris Paul out of that mix. He would have gone to get Rajon, because Rajon's his teammate. And because, look, I know he's tight with Chris Paul. I know they have a friendship. I know they have a long relationship. If you're really all about bringing this Lakers team together and making the most out of it and entitling Rajon Rondo to be a leader with you, then you show him that respect and allegiance. You don't go buddy up with the guy from the Houston Rockets. You don't. Everybody out there saw that. Every Laker saw that. They know where LeBron's allegiance lies. It lies with my friends. And it doesn't matter if they're wearing a different uniform. And for this particular Lakers team, as fragile, as delicately as it is built with its different factions and everybody getting along. Check out Michael Beasley and how happy he is about his time. Lance Stevenson, if he's not playing because they want to take a long look at Josh Hart or Lonzo or anybody else, that's ripe for trouble too. And you can have one, but when you have a committee in the locker room of vets that aren't happy, you're going to have a problem in short order. So we'll see where this goes. I picked the Lakers to make the playoffs. Talent-wise, boy, are they exciting. And they are dynamic. They can do some things. But they got a lot of holes that I don't know that you can fill. And LeBron actually opened one up even further in his actions the other night. You got to be, if he wants to make the most out of this team, he's got to be a uniter, not a socialite. And that's what he was the other night. All right, so with no further ado, MarShon Brooks. I now have the great pleasure of being joined by Memphis Grizzlies guard MarShon Brooks. And I've been looking forward to this conversation because you've been around, my friend.
I've been around since my last in the NBA with the Lakers. I played 1 year in Milan and 3 years in China.
Okay, so it was 3 years in China.
It was 3 years in China, yep.
And what was that experience like?
It was very different, a culture shock, first of all. Just I had to get on my feet and just get comfortable at first. Just find my places to eat, find my places where I can go and have a conversation with somebody. Mm-hmm. I was actually in Nanjing, China, which is the southern capital of China.
Okay.
So it wasn't a situation to where there were other foreigners in the city. I just had to find them. And then once I found them, I made friends. I got some good friends that, I left over there. That made my experience a lot easier.
So when you're in China, especially, like I remember I was over there, I got airdropped into a city, the name of which I can't even remember now, but nobody spoke English there, yeah. Right? But it was a city of 6 million people.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, I don't even know how to leave a wake-up call at the hotel. Yeah. It freaked me out. So you get there. How did you go about finding people, like other Americans or other people who spoke English?
Well, I had a translator. So I had a translator with me 24/7.
Okay.
So that helped me a lot.
The team gave you that?
The team gave me a translator. I had a team translator that was with me.
Okay.
I went over there with another guy who played in the NBA named Greg Oden. Okay. So me and Greg, my first year initially, because I played for the same team all 3 years. Initially, I spent a lot of time with Greg just because me and him were the only two who could speak. So you would find us tagging along. All around China. But we figured it out, especially with my mom. She Googled a couple spots because at first I was struggling, man, just to find a good meal.
No doubt.
An Americanized meal. Once I found this spot called Jimmy's. I would like to give a shout out to Jimmy. He's from Tennessee. He had a barbecue spot, a barbecue restaurant. Once I found that spot, I was pretty much there every single day. All
right, well, let's give Jimmy the propers. So what city was that in?
Nanjing, China.
Okay, Nanjing, China. Yeah. So anybody who needs a meal, if you're desperate.
Definitely. If you're around in Nanjing area, Jimmy, he definitely will hold it down for you. Great barbecue. And all the foreigners met up there as well. So that's where I met a lot of my friends. Gotcha. Just going to eat and then, hey, man, you speak English too? And then we kind of ran off with that.
I don't know that people recognize that when you do go play overseas, that like meals, training, equipment, like all of that.
It's changed. That's why the NBA is the best league in the world because, just like having somebody to massage you and help you, having the best recovery is very, very important, obviously, when you're playing so many games back to back to back. But in China, it's not all the way up to date, but it's getting there. It's getting there. It's definitely getting there.
You've always been, a late bloomer. I don't know if that's appropriate, but college, you really didn't play a whole lot your first 2 years, and you've had to circle around NBA wise to come back. It always seems as if it's like you've had to earn, and I don't know what terms you would put it in, but that it's always taken you a minute to get to where you want to go.
Yeah, even in high school, I was, a 5'10" sophomore in high school. I just grew, 6 inches over the summer, and then that's when I started getting the notoriety nationwide, and I ended up at Providence. Like you said, my first year I didn't play at all. Second year I started coming along, and then junior year is when I started playing well. Senior year I came out. So yeah, I definitely agree with the late bloomer.
How much does the getting drafted by Boston, immediately traded to New Jersey, how much of that did you know was going to happen, and how much it was like, damn, man, what's up?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I remember draft day like it was yesterday. My mom and my agent I'm sitting between my mom and my agent. I'm like, why am I here? Because they only tell the top 14 people, the people invited to the green room to go to the draft. But my mom, she said it was a dream of hers, so she really wanted to go. And I was projected to go a top 20 pick. Once I got past 20, I didn't work out for any of those teams. So I'm like, I don't want to be the guy to fall into the second round and, Right. But, it worked out for me when Boston drafted me and traded me to New Jersey. It was just a blessing, man. But I was nervous as possible, nervous as you could possibly imagine, because I didn't work out for those teams from 20 to 30. So it worked out. Yeah,
so what were you thinking? It gets to 20, you haven't heard your name yet. You're still in the green room.
I didn't know what to expect. I just remember shaking, man. Just a lot of shaking. I was really cussing my agent out. Man, why am I here, man? Come on.
Yeah.
But, it worked out for me.
So when you look at all that you have gone through and you come back now, what's your understanding of the NBA now compared to the first time?
I just appreciate it a lot more. I appreciate the opportunity. I remember when, because my first year coming out of college, I had a real good year with the New Jersey Nets. And then where I played a lot, I had an opportunity to play so many minutes. So I was able to perform playing 29 minutes. But then we went out and got Joe Johnson. Joe Johnson going into my second year in my position. And that's when, the minutes started going down. My confidence went down with the minutes. Yeah. And then I remember my second year, you could see me on the bench sometimes pouting because I felt like somebody owed me. I thought I was this blooming superstar after averaging 14 points a game. I felt like somebody owed me something. And now it's just, I'm in a situation now to where, being all around the world, being in China, I remember just saying to myself, I couldn't understand it at the time. I really didn't. But it took for me to sit down, and it took some years, and I was like, man, that's what I was doing wrong.
Yeah. You couldn't understand what?
I couldn't understand, how can I explain this? What I meant by that is I took things for granted in a sense because of the way that, in the NBA things kind of came easy to me.
Sure.
Playing 29 minutes, playing 29 minutes in the NBA is tough to come by.
Sure.
So I just told myself if I ever get another minute to play in the NBA, I just wanted to make the most of it just because, what I had been through the last couple of years.
It's interesting because I know a lot of guys that you played with and saw you in the Bay for a minute, and they would always talk about, and I could see it, the talent was there, and it was always curious to me, why isn't this fitting? Why is this guy bouncing around? Because he has a skill that is highly valued. You can score the ball, you can shoot from range, you can handle, and so it always kind of perplexed me. But you see it with a lot of guys. It's not the talent, it's something else.
It's the little things, in the NBA, it's the little things. Like you said earlier, when we were talking about earlier, it's like when you got player A, B, and C, especially when you're on a team that wants to win right now, there's not really too much margin for error. Yeah. And the details, the little things that I probably didn't take as serious is something that, I'm all locked in now. I mean, I'm 29 now, so that maturity comes with that. But, just spending so much time overseas, I think it really helped my game.
So how did you end up coming back or getting back? Because normally somebody takes your path. You're 4 years out of the league. You've played that much overseas. You're 29. Yours is a rare story. That doesn't always happen.
To be honest with you, man, to be honest with you, I remember I went to Milan my first year. I just wanted to play basketball because I didn't play basketball at all my third year. I had bounced around team after team. Like you said, I played in the Bay. Wasn't no minutes there. I got traded to the Lakers. It was just a situation to where I couldn't play basketball consistently enough to feel like I was getting better. So I went to Milan. I played in a very tough EuroLeague, and I think just that year of me playing got me a lot better. After my year I spent in Milan, I thought the phone would ring. It didn't. It didn't. I had a couple of training camp visits. Training camp invites, but it was just a situation to where China offered me enough money to where I didn't really want to be in the situation where I was on a non-guarantee contract, looking over my back, wondering if the GM liked that shot or not. It's just a tough situation. So 3 years later, I get a call from Chris Wallace. I'm sitting on my couch. I never forget it. So he just asked me to, to come play for a 10-day. I'm like, okay, that's perfect, because I was in a situation to where I played that whole year. Right. I sat out for like maybe a week or two, and then I got the call. So it was like, okay, why not? Let's give it a shot.
So the CBA, the Chinese Basketball Association League, had ended.
It had ended,
and you came home, and you were just home for a week or two, and then you got the 10-day. Now, you went from a 10-day to signing a multi-year deal like within a month and a half. Again, I don't know that happens with a guy who's been out, comes back in, does a 10-day, and then gets a commitment like that.
Yeah, like I said, it's never been a talent thing. I had the opportunity. Chris told me what they were looking for. He said, look, we're looking for a guy who can score. Keep the dribbles down to a minimum, because that was once my problem as well. Yeah. Scoring was never my problem, but the pace at what I scored.
I remember a couple of
sometimes I took too long.
Massaging the ball.
Yeah, sometimes I massaged the ball, and my teammates would get frustrated with me, and coaches got frustrated with me. And I guess, it took that 10-day. By the 9th day of that 10-day, they already, Chris had called me in his office. He said, we want to get this deal done. So I was like, I couldn't wait. I said, let's do it. Yeah.
When do you think the shift happened for you? Like that you had that mental shift of how or what you thought you needed to do. Now I see what
everybody was talking about.
Yes, before. Like, when did that happen? How did that happen? There had to be like a moment or at some point, like, it came home to you.
I was always like a natural scorer, but I didn't always see the corners or see my teammates. And it wasn't like, I'm not a selfish guy by any means. I just really didn't see him. I just really didn't see him. And they'd be like, oh, wide open in the corner. Coaches sit you down and show you it. And, after the game, it's easier to see. I think my time in Milan is what really helped me age in dog years, I like to say, because, you come off that pick and roll and you're in a situation to where these guys play so together. Like, it's just the European style of play. You just started clicking. And it took me time when I got to Europe. Like, I was scoring, doing well, but they were like, yo, you got to see that corner. That's there. And then it slowed down for me. And I just got better and better over that year.
So who was it, coach or player, teammate, that kind of brought that home for you?
It was my head coach in Milan. Got to give him credit for that, Luca Banchi. That's his name. And, they drilled it through my head. Like, look. Like, you see, you made that shot, but that's the right path. And the game slowed down for me around that time.
How'd you end up with that team and in Italy? How'd you go from what was your path to that particular place?
Italy, I played for Milano. I was in Milano. It was a great city. Playing for
a lot
Armani.
Of clothes there, right?
Yeah.
That's like a Armani. Fashion center.
Yeah, playing for Armani. It was actually one of the best offers I had. I had a better offer, a richer offer to go to China. My mom was terrified of China at the time. So she was like, let's just go to Milan, try it out. It's a better league. And at the time, like we all know, EuroLeague basketball is just, if you're not in the NBA, that's the second best league. Sure. So stiff competition. And I wanted to prove myself and have a shot to get back in the NBA that very next year. It didn't work out that way, but that was my plan.
Did you, when you got there, were you feeling like, what was your first introduction, or what was your knowledge of the level of competition when you first got there? Were you thinking, hey, I'm going to dominate or.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of guys do. That's a lot of guys think. You know, all right, it's a step lower. I always felt like I was a good NBA player. Like I could stick, I can score on anybody. That's how I always felt. You get to Milan and it's a lot more physical. They take away your first step. You got to put the ball down before you dribble. That was a problem. I remember my first game, I traveled like 6 times. Like literally every time I touched the ball, it was like, that's a travel too. Just coming from the NBA, it's different rules.
Yeah.
So they kind of take the athleticism out of the game. But yeah, it was just a lot more physical. Paint's a lot more crowded. You got to make that pass to the corner. That's just, you're not getting all the way to the paint.
Forgot to ask you, 2011, you come in during the lockout. Yeah. I've seen that in a number of guys who that was their introduction to the league, and it was a real disadvantage because it throws off everything. Yeah, no summer league, and you don't know when you're going to start, and so being in this necessary shape, it kind of throws the whole calendar off. How much of an impact did that have on you? How much as you look back now, do you think that influenced the way things went?
I mean, I definitely would have, with me coming out of college, I was 190. I would have definitely benefited from having that training in the summertime, the summer league, just to get used to the physicality. And in 2011, initially, we didn't even think we was going to have a season.
Right.
So it was like, and then we got a call out of nowhere.
Right.
And it was like, okay, we got training camp. Be there. I'm like, whoa, you know what I'm saying? But
what had you been doing up to that point? What kind of shape were you in?
I was in pretty good shape. I was at Providence playing with the guys.
Okay.
Because I just stayed around. I stayed at college. When I got drafted, I just stayed up there. Okay. That was my comfort zone.
Do you your degree? You left, and I think you were 2 classes short.
Yeah, I went back.
Oh, you went back, and did you get it done?
I didn't even get it finished because they called when I got the call. I had to.
And so you're still.
I still got it finished.
Short. How's mom feel about that?
It's about that time. It's about that time. Online courses, it's getting harder as farther as it gets away, but I'm definitely something I'm going to take care of.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So now that you've had this second run at this, what do you want to leave as the MarShon legacy or the image, or you look at that whole journey that you've had? How do you want people to see you? What's the goal now at this point?
I mean, at this point, I just want to just raise awareness. Like the basketball around the world, there's other Americans in China right now that I believe can play in the NBA. I'm actually in a group chat with the guys that we actually talk because we're the only people who understand English. I mean, we don't have too many people to talk to in China.
Right.
So we got a group chat, and the whole CBA has a group chat, and we basically talk to each other all day on WeChat.
So who are the guys in the group chat?
Man, Courtney Fortune. These are our guys that played in the NBA and fell out. Courtney Fortune.
Is that what's going on your phone right now?
Not right now.
Oh, okay.
They're asleep right now.
Okay.
It's 7:00 in the morning.
Okay.
But Willie Warren, those type of guys, Jamal Franklin, just a whole bunch of different guys. Bucher, guys who sniffed the league and fell out and go to the CBA. But my main thing is last year when I got the opportunity to play, after not playing for the 2 weeks, I hit the ground running and kind of caught everybody by surprise. But I tell the reporters all the time, like, there's other guys over there that can, if you give them the opportunity, they can play as well.
I would think that however you felt about your NBA preparedness, the year in Italy, the 3 years in China, like, dude, I earned my stripes. Like, coming back to the league, you may not have played that much, but I would think there's a gravitas. There's something to you that you didn't have before.
Man, because falling out of the NBA, the hardest thing to do is get back. Mm-hmm. It's very, very hard to get back that second time because the NBA already they seen you. They had the opportunity to see you. And to be honest with you, there was a point where nobody wanted me. So
that's humbling. That is, because you've had 40-point games, right?
Yeah,
I mean, you've done some things where you said, wait a minute, I wasn't like a 4.6 point per game guy. Like I could light it and nobody. That has to be baffling.
Yeah, it's humbling. And 4 years later, like, can he even play anymore?
Yeah.
So and I just thank Chris Wallace every time I see him for giving me this opportunity.
What was the moment? I don't know whether it's like putting the socks on. I don't know if it's going out to the first practice. I don't know if it's the first game where you're putting an NBA uniform. Like, what was the moment where you went,
where I felt comfortable?
Yeah, well, just where you thought, damn, man, this has been a journey to get back here. I didn't know if I'd ever get back here?
When I got that call, I never forget. I was with my best friend, Marcus Ragsdale. I was on the couch. I had just had my first son, my first child, MarShon Jr., and I just was sitting on the couch, man. I got the call. I was like, man, you're not going to believe who just got me. And I've been talking to my agent, and there's been he says some teams interested, but I've heard that the whole 4 years before.
Right.
So to actually get that call from Chris Wallace, I was like, man, it's really about to go down, and I'm leaving tomorrow. That's when I was like, I got to make this happen.
Now, how did you know Chris? Or how did that happen?
I don't know. No. Actually, he told me when we met, he said Lester Hudson. He asked Lester Hudson who was the best player in China. And Lester, another guy who played in the NBA, he referred my name. And that's basically how it happened.
Wow. So tears, joy, like I could see it going a multitude of ways.
Yeah, I cried for sure.
On the couch?
Nah, not on the
Later?
couch. It was when the plane took off.
Headed to Memphis.
Yeah, I was in there. I was like, oh man, wow. I can't wait. It's an opportunity. He told me exactly what he was expecting. And I was like, in my mind, I was like, ooh. Now, I'm a confident person, but you leave anywhere for 4 years and not play in the NBA for 4 years, it's like, ooh, you just have no choice but to wonder, like, can I do this? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm confident as they come. And then I'm gonna never forget, I had that first game against Portland. Everything just went my way. And, you know, the team was struggling at the time. Lost a couple games in a row, like, honestly, like 21 out of 22 or something like that. And we won that game. And I scored like 15 points in the fourth quarter. And then I remember just getting back to my hotel. Like, anytime I had some downtime, just to think about it, it was just like, man, don't get too happy, but man, you just did it. You just did it. I looked in the mirror, literally looked in the mirror and told myself, like, man, good job. Well, it's a great story. Yeah. It's so good to see you back. And no doubt. And it's funny because I always talk about the NBA is people begin to think it's the real world, and it's really not. It's this world that you get a rare invitation to, and it's not as easy to stay as people think it is. No. And it's different than the real world. But you have to maintain sort of the same principles that you have in the real world, right? To be able to survive it. And sometimes you lose sight of that. Yeah. So happy that you made it back. I've heard nothing but good things from the Grizzlies. I'm glad that they saw that. And they gave you a little bit of security. And it's a great story, and I really appreciate you taking time to share it with us. I appreciate you having me, man. You got it. All right, that's it for another edition of Bucher and Friends. Tomorrow's podcast will be with Ryan Hollins, and we're going to get into some of the surprise teams and whether they are just a early surprise or whether there's some justification for what they're doing. Most notably, the Detroit Pistons and Blake Griffin winning their first 3 games of the season, and the Oklahoma City Thunder losing their first 3 games of the season. Is that what we expect to continue, or is this simply an aberration? Ryan and I will discuss, along with his take on the dust-up between Rajon and CP3 and who he sides with. Don't forget to subscribe on iTunes, and please leave us a rating. All you got to do is click the number of stars. If you want to leave a comment, that's fine too. But hitting a rating means a lot to us, gives us a sense of just how well we're doing, and it means we know that you are indeed listening. Thanks in advance for that, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.